San Antonio Theatre faced armed protesters at a Christmas-themed drag show. Several dozen demonstrators gathered outside the Aztec Theatre in downtown San Antonio on Tuesday night. Some were there to condemn the holiday-themed drag show scheduled to take place inside, and others were there to support the show. Some shouldered weapons. Alongside them were armed San Antonio police officers, eyeing both sides as the crowds grew. The Texas-based far-right extremist group, this is Texas Freedom Force, led the demonstration. It said earlier that it was there over unsubstantiated claims regarding children. The Texas Freedom Force has been described as a militia extremist group by the FBI. The group denounced the show as an attempt at grooming children. The group's Twitter said, quote, "This all could have been avoided. Make the show 18 years old and up." Even the opposition claims the show isn't geared towards kids, so why allow them in? Oh, that's right, because it is about grooming kids. They want kids there, end quote. Supporters of the LGBTQ+ community conducted a counter-demonstration. Among them was Benjamin Clodfelter, a member of Veterans for Equality. He came armed with a rifle. He said carrying the weapon was meant to be a show of force against the far-right group. By 7 p.m., supporters and critics of the drag show filled the sidewalks on opposite sides of St. Mary's Street. Some of the participants supporting the show held signs celebrating LGBTQ rights, waved flags, danced to music, and chanted, and I am so disgusted reading this story. I just cannot even believe, it's interesting. They call themselves the Freedom Force, and yet they're showing up at somebody's event that they're not invited to. And then they're telling them the rules that they would like them to follow. Well, why don't you make it this way? Dude, why don't you mind your business? Like, why aren't you home cooking yourself a hamburger? Why are you bothering other people? Nobody cares about what your opinion is. If you don't want to go to the drag show, then stay home and do something else with your life.
The answer is power and money.
Control. Who tells these people they have the right to even run around and do these things?
No, even saying that you want to make the shows 18 and over, shouldn't that be up to the parent to decide? I've been to many drag shows where the parent has brought.
We want parental rights.
Right, and that's the name of the damn thing. I mean, come on. We go to drag shows all the time where there'll be a parent with a teenager, and the teenager's having the time of his life or her life.
And you know why we now don't want parental rights in decision making there? Because of power and money.
It's unbelievable.
And it's another one of those, like our last story, those extremely dangerous tactics, like that label of child groomers, because it empowers people. They feel they need to do something and attack the gay community.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say that they dragged up all the most intimate, special things to scare people. Toilets. I mean, let's face it, you're never more vulnerable than when you're in the bathroom. And you want your children to feel safe. And so it's all about children and everything like that. But at the end of the day, they're showing up with things that could kill the children that could be there. And we just have power and money.
Power.
But they have this, we have to be prepared that at some point they're going to go from intimidation and open fire at one of these things. We've been there where a paintball was shot from a passing truck on Wilton Drive that was sporting a big American flag, because apparently there's nothing more American than terrorizing your fellow citizens. Yeah. It happens here. It's going to happen.
I want to counterbalance the observation. How about on LGBT and drag queen and equality support? What happens when, as in we report in this story, someone vocally and vigorously says, no, I'm bringing my gun to support LGBT rights?
Oh my God.
I've recently, I did the Fauci interview, and we talked about Larry Kramer. And one of the interesting things that came from that interview from a lot of my friends is ACT UP. I didn't know a lot about ACT UP, and they've started looking into ACT UP in terms of what they did, especially in the early 90s, in being so vocally. I know you have very strong opinions on this. What do y'all think about the idea that bringing the guns to the drag events in protest, in support of the events, in fighting in opposition to what we saw last week on US 1 and Las Olas with Liberty Moms for Liberty and Proud Boys showing up? What do you think about the act up mentality of, okay, well, if you want to come to a fight, we're coming to a fight. What do you think about
I'm
that?
against it.
You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you're just escalating probably the inevitable. And I know that you should say, well, if they've got guns, we should have guns too. And I think, well, I'm very well on the record of being against all guns. Except for licensed police officers and other people who are deemed worthy to enforce security.
You don't need an AK-47 to go hunting.
You don't need an AK-40. Well, except that they do, because we know who they're hunting.
Let's not talk about gun control, which is where you're going.
Right.
My question is very specific. Do we go to a knife fight with the Gettysburg Address?
You know, part of me wants to tell you, Al, we should come to this fight with love and we should fight them with love and that's how to do it. But you know, this hasn't worked, right? And they're more organized than us. Okay, so if you're going to come and bring your gun, also just make sure that you know what you're doing, because you're going to get stupid people also getting guns that don't know how to use them. And then you're going to think, I heard a pop. Was that a pop? Let's start shooting. And then little kids will die.
And also, you know, a lot of those people are really cowards. They walk around with big guns, but they're really cowards. For the veterans to be on the other side of the street, going, we're vets, we got our guns.
I'm thinking
what you got? Those guys are not ready to deal with veterans. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the old gay metaphor joke about big bodybuilders.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
where they're
small
small.
peepees.
Yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? This
Yeah.
is horrendous. What's going on?
We've got to focus on that answer. We're watching what's happening. We've got to focus on what we're going to do next. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.